Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
Okay, hold on. Let me turn on the light. I didn't turn on the outside light. There'll be one looking in.
You're sitting there talking about him, turn around and get a picture of one on camera right when you're in the middle of an interview. How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
I'm not saying like his house is squatchy or anything, but there's a squatch in his window right now while we're on air recording this, spying on him.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you is, I not only do these as sort of a radio show, but I also have a video part that goes with it. So if you got any pictures at all that you want to share with the audience, you can send them to me. And at whatever point of the conversation they get mentioned, I'll just make sure they get up on the screen.
Okay. Remember the one that I seen walking way out in the open at 11 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, like that open area with no trees around or anything, and he's way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got that one. I can use that one. I got another one, actually, that I'm going to have some fun with, and I'm going to, I can caption. I can run the same picture and then have captions pop up and come back down again. And I'll just have the first caption saying, "Hey, has anybody seen Randy? Where did Randy go?" And the second caption will be, "Hey, look at this, a Bigfoot trackway." And the third caption will be, "Well, Randy left one of his shoes right here next to the Bigfoot trackway, so he'll be coming back to get it. We'll just wait here."
That one was actually late at night when I went to, the dog started barking, and the previous night there was a coyote that was hanging around, and I thought it was the coyote hanging around by the corral again. So I ran out there with my rifle and my big spotlight, and there was no coyote towards the corral. So I heard some real big, hoof pounding, and I shined it to the east of me where I was standing, and here there was horses coming at me at an angle, full speed, and I shined my spotlight on it, and here, they were booking it, and I shined it. They kind of ran by me and myself in the corral. They kept on going. That's the thing that kind of startled me. So I thought, what could they be running from? So I spotlighted where they ran from just then. there was something that I seen just in my spotlight, and my spotlight is 2 million candle power. So I mean, I would light stuff.
Yeah, if there's
And
something out
here,
there, you're going to pretty much see it with that thing.
yeah, when I spotlight it, then and here something did jump behind one of the big bushes that were out there, those thorn bushes, and I kept shining over there. I'd say the lapse time of it was probably about maybe 5 seconds. And here, two eyes came up from on top of the thorn bush, and it scared the crap out of me. It's just, I screamed like a little girl that night. Ah! And
So what do you think was going on there? Was he just messing with him, or do you think he was one of them horsey raping bad Bigfoots, or what? What do you think?
I think it was trying to catch one of the horses,
Oh God.
and it was following it. It must have been coming right behind it, and they kind of took away or took off from it. Maybe about maybe 400 feet, something like that, 500 feet, because they were right by myself, and the horses were, yeah, right by me and the corral, and they just ran through, and I shined my light back to where they came from, and that's when it happened. And the distance from there was probably, I would say 400 feet. So then that came right there. So because I seen the figure just dart behind the bush, and I thought, at first I thought, oh, my eyes are playing tricks on me. But I
Yeah,
kept
when
the
it pokes its
spotlight
head
on
up and
there.
you get the glowing eyes above the bush,
Yeah, and then
pretty obvious
it
it's
peaks.
real.
Yeah, it peaks up, and that's where I really screamed like a little girl, way out, out at night. I kind of, when a man does that, they kind of look around first, see if nobody was listening or watching. So I kind of had to do that, and that was one thing that happened to me, and they just kind of the horses kept on going, and I ran inside, and I forgot my rifle, and I came back out, and it was gone. The next day, I was kind of shooken up. I'd kind of shaken up and went to. Usually, my mom gives me breakfast. She calls me over, and so I went over there and I told her about it. Then she tells me, "Well, then go back over there and look for tracks." She says, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I went back out there and I started looking for tracks, and sure enough, I found it. And that's where my tennis shoes. I put my tennis shoes right beside it and said that's a size 10 that I was wearing. And I put it right beside it, and then took a picture of it. And I put it on Facebook, and then somebody has to have a smart aleck remark saying, "Oh, well, you know what people say about people with little feet." And I was like, "Oh, go, damn you."
Yeah, there's always got to be some smart ass troll.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
So
now that we've made clear that the intro part of this show was just a big joke, you weren't actually abducted and eaten by Bigfoot. You're still very much alive. I think I should probably introduce you to all of our listeners out there. So, of course, you're listening to The Duke on World Bigfoot Radio. And today I'm interviewing one of my friends that I've been actually waiting a long, long time to get on the air. And I'm like super psyched to have him here. And this is one of those rare people that's just grown up with Bigfoot. From the time they were little, there's been stuff going on, and became fascinated with it, and then went around to try and learn more about it. And of course, in the course of that sort of thing, you end up having more encounters. And this person also has them right where they live, messing around on the property fairly regularly. And it's a very big honor for me to have this gentleman on my show. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Caveman Yazzie from the Navajo Nation is here with me. Say hi, Randy.
yeah, hey, hello. How's it going, Duke?
Great, man. And I'd like to let everybody know that if you're interested in what's going on down there in the Navajo lands, and especially with cryptids, and I love Randy's site. You want to pronounce that for me, Randy?
That's called Hosteen Ziltui, which means hairy man from the mountain.
Right on. So now, if they're finding this is a Facebook group. How do you spell it? Hosteen is Hosteen. No.
That one is on my group page. It's HASTINDZILTLOI.
There you go. And I encourage everybody that's going to stop and rewind and listen to that part again so they can write it down quickly. Go join his group. It's a really cool group, and you'll get more information on what's going on in that part of the country. And I just like to encourage anybody to, hook up with the guests that I've had on my show, because the reason that I have them on here is because I think they're top of the line, know what they're talking about, no BS, and quality effort all the way through, no matter what it is that they're doing. So, from my perspective, I'm not hauling out any of the B leaguers or anything. For the time being, if there's anybody on my show, I consider him to be top of the line, reputable person. So for the people that are just getting involved in this, keep in mind that from my perspective, the Caveman here is top of the line, high quality fountain of information on this, and also goes out and does field research. So there you go. And he's got some really interesting stories for us. Matter of fact, probably going to have to do a two-parter here just to cover some of the stories, because like I said earlier, this gentleman grew up with the Hosteen running around. And if you'd be so kind, Randy, will you briefly take us through your first encounter when you were a little kid with your brother and sister?
Yeah, we were just playing around in our dad's house, which was on the Arizona side, and myself, my older sister, and my younger brother, we were just playing around, running back and forth, running all over the place inside the house. And here, all of a sudden, my younger brother, stops and starts wailing. Ah, it's just he says that, and then we stopped, and we just happened to be stopped right by the kitchen sink, and there was a small window that was out there, right in front of the kitchen sink, and he was pointing to that. So we looked out there, and there is, something looking back at us. So me, my sister, we didn't know what it was. So
well, it was pretty obvious your brother didn't think it was very cool, judging by the reaction.
Yeah, he was much smarter than we were, and he was, going on and on the top of his lungs, just crying, just letting it out. And here myself and my older sister, we were at about 5, 6 years old, and here we kept looking at each other. We were up close to it. We were hanging onto the sink, and the kitchen window was just maybe 18 inches, 24 inches away from us.
Oh my God!
And
so you're basically right next to the thing.
Yes, and this was a log cabin, so it was just stooping down, and I asked my sister, "What is it?" Because it had big eyes, and the face looked like it was all, roughed up. How you see manged skin,
yeah,
kind of purplish, or the skin, and it had some hair onto it, but it wasn't that much. And with it, we seen as for me, I seen the full moon behind it. So I seen the whole figure, but the head was really big, and it was covering most of the window, and the window was like maybe 3 feet by 12 inches.
Wow.
So it was kind of like the 3 feet was horizontal, and the width was 12 inches. And here it was stooping down. I guess it was stooping down then, and it had its hand, the whole arm. It was standing on one side of the corner of the window, holding on to the other corner of the window also. So it was stooping down, looking at us like this. And so I asked my sister, "What is that? It's a big head, and it looks like it has a long snout, and it keeps looking at us. It's just, it was looking at us sideways, and it had kind of lit some hair on it." And she responds, and then she says, "That's an elephant," she says. So all this time growing up, I seen, one of those African elephants or Indian elephants out on the Navajo reservation. That's what I thought.
Well, it
We
had
had
to
an
have to have
elephant.
been a mammoth because it had hair on it. So,
Yeah. So, I've been seeing the eyes too, really big, but it still looked like just an eye. And and we seen it, and that was, something to see, like I said, I've grew up with it like that, the image to this day still in my mind like that. But I always thought that it was an elephant until later on when I came back, when I asked my sister, "Hey, do you remember that time that thing stood at the window when we were playing around?" And she looked at me, with all her eyes real big, and she says, "Oh, I thought that was just a dream," she
oh
says.
my God.
And here, it's stuck in her head too, that's saying that. And here, it turns out that was one of the Hustines. As I call them Hustines because as the word says, Hustines. I just shorten it down because a lot of people can't say the latter parts of Hustine, and Hustine means man. So I just like to clear that one up. I always call it Hustine, and
It's like
so
the short Navajo slang version.
yes, the short Navajo slang version. And they always used to tap on the windows. Not windows. Yeah, windows maybe walls, doors. The parents would say they would tap on it or bang on it, boom, 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 and they would say, "Yee, young man, outside." And then the little kids would be either running around, they get all quiet, or they'd be crying, they get all quiet. It's something to discipline your children with.
Yeah.
And yee, yeah means like, holy crap, So, so it's that just goes to show, we experience things like that down here, slapping on the walls,
Yeah.
and you go outside and there's something standing outside.
God.
So,
Hey, you've
so
been in this for a long time and you've heard a lot of this stuff. And, you just gave us an example from when you were a little child that, this happening to you. It really bothers me that these things are so interested in children all the time. Why do you think they have that fascination with human children? I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories of them coming up to windows on kids' room and staring in at them, or tapping on the window, or motioning to them to, like, get them to come outside. I mean, my God, that just creeps the hell out of me. What's your take on that?
well, for me, after observing, some, there's a lot that I've, have that I have encountered, but observing them, they always kind of play. They, if they're not doing anything, they're gonna play with something. They're either a little stink bug or lizards, or they're always playing. They're they mind their own business. They just don't sit there and be all grouchy and ready to scream at somebody. They occupy themselves,
Yeah.
playful. That's what I have seen. So when there is a child with them, that child is hyped up to play big time. And with that, the child is usually the one that takes off towards where the kids are first. And that's the one that they usually see around first, either a child or an adolescent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that they see first. And if the other one follows, that the parent follows, then that's when you see a couple of them, or they would occupy themselves just like we do. when the child is in the playground, we would read a book or we would do something else about keeping an eye on our children. That's what I see. They're very playful. They're all like that.
Well, thanks for that take on it because that reassures me a lot and takes away a lot of the creepiness. And I have actually heard, like, I was just thinking off the top of my head of 3 reports of young humans under age of 10 running into their equivalent from the Bigfoot world, a squatchlet. And,
Yeah,
and they just like to hang out and have fun. And one of the reports is it was just like once or twice that this happened. The other 2, they had like fairly regular contact and, would just go together and play in the woods and stuff. And, it's kind of like, what do you do with something like that? Aren't Bigfoot supposed to be hiding from humans? Well, I guess when they're that little, they don't know any better. But you would
yeah,
kind of think the parents would keep them from doing that. I mean, that's just it's so
yeah.
weird.
Like you said, the equivalent of them, a 10-year-old child and maybe a 6-year-old husky will probably differ in size. One would be 6 feet, the other one would be about maybe 30 inches or something like that.
Hmm.
However tall those 10-year-olds are now.
Hmm.
And so the difference is there. And that's when the human parent comes out and sees this other child thinking that it's an adult.
Hmm.
And it's usually a child. And that's when it takes off also on from the parent. And the sound that we make also is also, that's one thing that they're scared of also, like shrieking or like the way they say
Uh,
ours is just not amplified, but it does play a role in them escaping, hiding from humans.
so they don't like loud noise.
They don't like loud noise. They want to be the one to make the loud noise.
Right. And it's usually as a get the hell out of here warning or a shut the hell up warning.
Yeah, I am here.
I,
Usually,
I am here and I'm not enjoying what you're doing over there.
yes, I am here and I see you. That's basically what it is.
That's pretty good.
Here, at one point, I was walking one of the ledges. It's a step off from the mesa, and there I've heard 3 knocks at a time in sets. Just ba 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 ba. It was going rapidly, and I was walking towards the east along this the toe end of the start of the ledge, the toe end of the top mesa, and that's where the start of the step off was. And here it was going like that, and I reached to where um, I needed to go to look around, and I kept hearing this. It was very loud and clear, just pop 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 like that, 3 sets, and I stopped right there. Then it stopped. It got quiet, and I was trying to look around with the binoculars. I had one of those 20 by 70 binoculars. When I want to see something, I'm gonna see it. And and I was looking around, nothing, nothing, and I didn't find anything, so I turned around and started to walk towards where I parked, which was about maybe half a mile away. And there were sets of 4 then. Pop, 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 and kept on doing that until there was a response way out there towards, like I said, I'm going west now, so towards the northwest of me, along the river, there was a real loud pop on the wood, and this one stopped for a while. I took probably about maybe 20 steps and started walking again and started it up again. So I turned around way right before, right on top of where I parked, and I turned around and I took a picture. Actually, I took about three pictures, all different, just random pictures. And I started looking at the pictures in my camera, and there it was, right below the cliff of that step. It was just right below it, in the kind of not in the bushes, but right in front of it. And here, that it was right below me when it was making all that sound. And a
Wow.
lot of that sound was, I guess, been dragged out to the open from the cliff, echoing off.
Hmm.
And I thought it was way out there, about maybe 1,000 feet out somewhere,
Oh my
and it was
God.
just right below me.
It's
And
essentially throwing its voice in the wrong direction to
yes,
mislead you.
yes, yes.
God, that's
So that's
sneaky.
that's what it was doing. And I was like, "Oh, now I see you, you hide and seek champion. I see you
You lost
right
this round.
there."
I found you.
Yeah, I took a picture of it, and yeah, I had it up close, but then in my computer knowledge that I have, which is not too great, I guess I pushed crop, and it became real small. The picture, I mean. So, but I still have it though, and that's how that one came about. That's how you would hear a wood knock in a certain area, but then off to the side, maybe 500 feet from it, that might be the real sound that's echoing off maybe a cliff or another tree.
Wow.
That's how you can't really see them. You go to that direction where the sound is, and that's how you don't see them. And then it looks off to the you look off to the side, and actually, what I do is I lay on the ground and look underneath all the trees, the brushes, and everything, and I just see the bottom part. Like where the stump are.
Hmm.
I look down there. Usually, I would see one looking back at me, or one would walk off, or maybe a couple would run off. That's how I see them.
Yeah, because you know where to look.
Yes.
John Bindernagel said, it's not so much seeing is believing as believing is seeing. In other words, if you don't believe in them, you're not going to be looking for them. If you do
Yeah.
believe in them and you know where to look, it's not too difficult to find evidence if they're there. It
Yeah.
really isn't. And it's kind of scary when you get to the point where you know what to look for and you start seeing evidence all over the place and everybody else is completely blind to it and have no
Yes.
idea what's going on.
Yep.
Well, I got to tell you guys, Brandy has some of the coolest Bigfoot encounter stories, not only ones that he personally has experienced, which is, quite a few, but from other stories that he's been peripherally involved in around the gigantic area down there that comprises the sprawling Navajo lands. And let's see, you guys are like bigger than Texas, right?
Almost the size of Texas.
Right on. See, there you go. Well, that's his beat. That's what he gets to patrol and go in search of all the dangerous humanoid cryptids. And I just have a great time talking to Randy every time I get a chance to. I've been trying to get the Caveman here on my show for like a year, and I've been having all these problems trying to figure out how to do the show and do all of the technical wizardry that goes along with producing it and turning it out and whatnot. And meanwhile, he was patiently waiting and, waiting for the chance to come on and tell two of the stories that I definitely want you guys to hear, and we'll definitely get one in on this first part of the show. And in this instant, I would really like to hear the that one monster story. And I'm not going to say the first name of the monster because that'll sort of give the ending away. But at the end of the story, you'll know what kind of monster it is that I'm talking about. And this is just one of the most amazing and frankly kind of humorous Bigfoot stories that I've ever heard. And the first time Randy told me, I just about fell out of my chair laughing. It was so awesome. So I'm going to try. I tried to talk him into it, and he agreed. And he's going to tell us all the story now.
Yeah. Well, how it happened was I was a security guard over in one of the rural, way deep on the Reds rural area, and there was a boarding school that they had demolished, and they had demolished that boarding school because of asbestos,
Oh God.
and I was told to protect the asbestos piles so nobody else would want to, no, they didn't want nobody to pick up like extra lights that were there, or maybe wires that could be recycled and stuff like that, so just what we all do just to get extra money. And I'm sure everybody does that. If you get low on money, you try to look for something else. So they didn't want these other people to go onto the government fenced in area to get these things, these asbestos, what do you call them, asbestos
Abatement.
uh
Asbestos abatement.
yeah,
I used to actually
they
work
didn't.
at it. I was a site supervisor for a while.
Yeah, and here they didn't want them in there, so I was patrolling around it, and the piles were right in the middle, and I was going around and around. And all of a sudden, I got a flat tire,
Oh,
and I went to where the one of the buildings that had no asbestos, and there was a stone building, old, real old steam water steamer, boiling room, and here for back in the 50s and the 60s, and here I was parked right in between, and that was the only real lighted area. There was one of those real white, bright lights there beaming down, and there's another one of those orange lights that were coming from the north. And here it was very lighted up. It just looked like it was day. That's how
mm-hmm.
lit up it was. And anyways, I kept hearing something somewhere way out towards my south, and hearing something, the dogs trailing something, they're chasing something, and every once in a while one of them dogs would yelp. And anyways, that all that was going on until it disappeared somewhere. The sound, all them dogs, I don't know, got killed or something, or they just got discouraged and ran away. And that's what I thought. I thought it was a horse coming down by the fences, the government fence. And here I changed my tire. This was at 12 midnight, and I just when I was going to put my tools back in, I made the motion from sitting down by the tire and fastening the new tire, putting the new tire back on. And here there was a gravel rustle behind me, like that. You know how the gravels when you walk in and into it, it makes that sound.
Yeah.
And here I looked back, and there was this huge man or something, just huge, just running, trotting along, and it went from one building behind another building, which that maintenance building was on the east side. The boiler room was on the west side, and it ran from east to west, and it just went on its way. And I stood there for a while, you know. After coming back from Desert Storm, I was ready, ready to bite bullets, and I was all gung ho, being in the Marine Corps and all of that. That Marine jumped out, when I seen that creature. And here, it took me a while. I don't know how long I stood there. Finally, when I kind of came to my senses, I ran inside to the maintenance building because I didn't understand what I had seen, and I called the police. And fortunately, one of the police officers was in the area, so he came around and he told me, "Hey, let's look for it." And we did. He told me, "Hey, I'm going around towards the south on the road. You go to where it went," he says. and say, "Hey, man, you're the one with the gun. How about I go?"
I'll go cut it off at the pass. You chase it through the
Yeah,
woods. You got a gun.
I, I only have a spotlight. I said, and then, anyways, that we took off and we were all, cruising. I could see his spotlight, that was, something that I kind of hung on, if I'm just going to get chased or if I get encountered again, I'm just going to take off that way was what I was thinking. But we met way on the west end of the corner of the government fencing. And then we got off. He had his spotlight down on the ground at the corner, and this thing had run over. We seen the tracks, how it made, how it crawled over. It just stepped over. In other words, kind of made that. You know how you uh, go over a fence. You kind of
Yeah.
have to throw yourself and all that, and then your feet kind of moves like that. But they were huge. That was a huge footprint, and it had continued on. We just heard dogs barking towards the west of us, way back in the cove, and there were some more houses down that way. So we just figured that it was going that way.
Yeah.
And another guy, a security guy, comes around, and then he says, "Oh, it's that thing that always comes around, looks in on people when they're taking showers." He says, and so we were laughing about it. And another guy comes around, an old man, this is an elderly. He comes around, he tells his story, saying that that thing comes off the mountain, goes to his corral, takes one of his lambs, and takes off back up the mountain. He tries to shoot at it, and then police officer says, "So what kind of rifle do you use?" He says, "Oh, I use my 22 on it." He says, and then the officer and the other security start laughing. He says, "You're not hurting it. You're just tickling it." He says, and so, so we just were laughing about it. And then the officer says, "Oh, one time," he says, it was about ready for me to get off. I was on the day shift, no, the swing shift, and here I was ready to get off, and I had started going home from where I usually patrol, which was like probably 40 miles. They called the place called Shiprock, and I was going towards Red Valley. He says, and I had just now started, and then I heard the call. They said, "Okay, they seen something out there. Can you check it out?" So yeah, I thought, it's on my way, so I'll check it out. So I went to that place. I started to go towards the place. They said there was a revival going on. Those temporary tents being put up and all of that.
About what? Let
And
me interrupt you for a second. About what year was this? Do you remember?
I would say this was somewhere around 95.
Okay.
And he says, as I was going along the way, I knew there was a revival going on, is what he said.
Do they have one of the big giant tents and stuff?
Yeah, they
Oh,
had the
okay.
big giant tents, all that. And here I was thinking, people all into praising and, rejoicing. I had that thought in mind. It might just be some, another house that they called from or something like that. But then all of a sudden, there was a vehicle coming up, he says. And there were guys in the back with 30s, 30-06, and a whole bunch of them, the whole army of people in the back of a pickup truck. And I stopped them, and they, told us what happened. And he says, I went further down. He says, and then there was another pack coming up the road again, and they were all certain people are just searching with spotlights and flashlights going all over the place. By that time, I was near the tent. He says, and this one guy came up to me and he tells me, "Okay." I asked him. He said, "So what happened? Why'd you call the police?"
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
this is kind of a weird thing to come riding up on. Here's this big revival tent with all the Christians, and well, there's like armed gunmen with flashlights wandering around all over the place.
yeah,
What the heck is going on here?
yeah. And then so the officer asked this guy, so what happened, And then he goes, well, he says, the guy, he says, well, we were all praising, rejoicing. We were almost to the end of the revival, almost the last part of it. We were really jamming down, holy, holy, and we were singing that. And then all of a sudden, the song, just when the song went, the guitars, the drums, and all of that, the instruments, that stopped. These people in the front row, second row, third row jumped up and started to sing hallelujah. But then they started hallelujah. This thing came in all dark, came in really fast, picked up a bowl of cookies and ran back out the other way. And here,
So it ran through the revival tent.
It ran through the revival, right in front of the.
Well, where were the wait now? Back up a little bit. Where were the cookies?
The cookies were put out right in front of where the people were singing with the instruments. They were put right there, and.
So was this like over on one side of the big tent then, or?
Yeah, just one in, and.
Okay.
And here,
so right when you come through the door into the tent, there's the bowl of cookies.
There's the bowl of cookies.
Oh my God.
Bowl of cookies. He picked it up and kept on running. Just when the guitar went at the end, the last chord, those people saw it and they just fell back. The people that started to say hallelujah, they went as far as went hallelujah. And they all fell back too. This thing just ran, picked up the cookies, and kept on running. Went out the other way. After they collected,
how did the pastor and the choir react to this sudden interruption?
Sudden interruption. Just everybody fell back. And now everybody collected themselves after praising God and all rejoicing. They say, okay, our cookies have been stolen. Now we're going to get our guns and go after the cookie monster. Oh man.
This is one of those very few Bigfoot stories that nobody gets hurt. Although a lot of them get scared. And I think it's the funniest Bigfoot story I've ever heard in my life. And every time I think about it, it makes me go, he had to have done that on purpose. This had to be the equivalent of some, like 16 or 15-year-old humans playing a prank and a dare. And when I'm going, oh, I bet you can't run in there and grab that thing of cookies. Oh, yeah, well, I bet you can't go in there and grab that thing of cookies and run all the way across the tent. Well, yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Knowing them also, they're always hungry. They're always foraging for something. They're always stealing.
Yeah.
So if they how I thought about it was, it went in wanting those sweet stuff, and then it stole those sweet stuff and it took off out the other as fast as it could. It didn't it didn't care who it belonged to. It just took it and took off out the other way. So
that's what kills me though, that it didn't just come in the door, grab the cookies, and go back out the same door. That it actually ran across where it really didn't need to, but it ran across the entire tent. Well, apparently just to scare the hell out of everybody because it was fun.
Yeah, it knew what was going to happen. Everybody fell over in here. The thought of the human reaction. That's the thing that gets me. After doing all that revival, doing rejoicing and praising and all that, everybody else that was in the tent got pissed off and started going after this thing.
See, the second you get done praising God, some evil monster steals your cookies and runs away with them.
Yeah, yeah. So, so that's how I understood it. We were laughing about it big time out there, way out in the dark. And he says, "Nah, I didn't write no report because I was laughing myself." He says, and I told him, "Nah, well, it's probably in some ditch somewhere, really eating those cookies."
Gorging down on those cookies. And the other squatch are there going, "Give me one." It's like, no, go steal your own.
Go steal your own. That's right. Ooh, that was hilarious.
Oh my God! It's fun to get stories like this occasionally, because a lot of the stuff that has to do with these guys tends to be, pretty hair raising, and a lot of it is like unfriendly behavior and stuff like that. And it's fun to hear stories like this where they just do something that doesn't actually hurt anybody. It may scare the hell out of them at the time, but this is. Come on, folks! This is one of the weirdest Bigfoot stories ever. And I think it's the funniest one. The second funniest one in my book is the one that Michael Cook told me about from the olden days in Kentucky, where the Sasquatch had broken into the still and was drinking all the whiskey when the two hillbillies showed up to take it all off to market. And there's a drunken Bigfoot, so drunk he couldn't even hoop at him. He went, ooh, 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 ooh. He couldn't figure out how to open up the mason jar, so he was breaking them on a rock and then licking up the booze before it soaked into the ground.
Yeah. Like I said, they're more, the way we see it, they're more childish.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people compare their behavior, especially, as being equivalent to like a human 5-year-old.
Yes.
They're very curious, but they have kind of a short attention span, and they get pissed off really easy.
Yes, that's how they are. That's why the elders out here, they would say, hey, if you meet one, just leave it alone. Just walk by it.
Yeah.
If it walks by you, it walks by you. If you make a reaction towards it, it's going to react to you too. And then that was, well, that's how the teachings go out here.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've had, people out here that had real close encounters. People, they would be walking on the other side of the road, and you see this Bigfoot, the house team come around and be walking the other way. And they would just look at, the person, kind of let out a grunt, like, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, or something like that, just or something like that, and then just kept on going. So that's how the encounters go out here.
So make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.